A future budget for SunRail will really vary depending upon decisions made by the Commission. There are a number of things that could influence the budget, including a 5-year capital plan. What does the Commission want to do or feel that it needs to do over the next 5 years? That will influence the budget. How does the Commission want to plan for refurbishment and replacement of vehicles, adding more service, thinking about that holiday discussion that was had earlier today? Does the Commission want to expand the system in any way or expand service? Thinking about the governance structure of the system can influence the budget. The fare collection system has also been a topic of quite a bit of conversation. Insurance requirements can influence the budget, and of course, a decision on how the level of reserves the Commission wants to keep going forward. So as we compile all of our information into our deliverables for you, we will make certain assumptions based on input from you and your staff, but know that there are various variables that will influence this. We are also preparing a list of recommendations. Initially, these include developing a 5-year capital plan for the system going forward based on what the Commission wants to see. We also recommend undergoing an insurance evaluation. So this will influence the budget. It can also be done in a way that responds to what insurance claims have been placed so far in the operation of the system. There were certain assumptions that were made during the planning phase, and now that the system is in operation, you know more, we know more. We can make better decisions with the information that we have. We'll also recommend an audit of the existing contracts. So are the vendors that SunRail is currently in contract with complying with their contract? Are they delivering everything that they're supposed to be delivering? We recommend a review of the condition of the bridges because, of course, that could influence operations and costs going forward. We also are looking ahead to what needs to be done to actually operate the system under the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission. And of course, that includes creating policies and procedures going forward, procurement policies, risk management policies, standard operating procedures for a variety of things that we are all familiar with our own agencies, but SunRail has to create for itself. And then finally, creating job descriptions and initiating a search for executive staff to handle the operations of the agency and manage the contracts with the vendors.
Do you have a timeline for all of that?
We are working on a timeline, and as you can see from the final slide in this presentation, there are a number of things that have to happen. And to put it into perspective, we've got about 2 fiscal years between now and when transition is scheduled to happen. That's May of 2021. And so completing this analysis is, of course, at the top of the list, and we'll be doing that over the next month or 2. As I said, we recommend some additional analyses that will help determine the budget going forward. So we recommend initiating those as soon as possible. Developing that capital plan, or TDP. TDP stands for the Transit Development Plan. This is something that's required of all transit agencies within the state of Florida as a condition for state block grant funding, and it can serve as an operational plan and a capital plan going forward. So we would recommend developing that as soon as possible. Conducting that self-insurance evaluation. And then thinking about any legislative changes that you might want to see or you might feel would help transition the system going forward. And that, of course, could relate to the governance decisions. There may be no legislative changes that are necessary, but that's important to think about because the legislative cycle comes along once a year. A procurement strategy is necessary. So for operations, SunRail is under contract with various vendors like Bombardier and Herzog. Those contracts can be renegotiated, and we would recommend looking into that. We'd also recommend starting the process of searching for and hiring executive staff first, and then building up that staff. In the interlocal agreements, it's contemplated that there will be at least 6 months of transition time during which the Commission's operations and FDOT's operations will sort of be happening hand in hand. That's to ensure that smooth transition. What we've seen in some other systems is that a little bit longer than 6 months is helpful, but of course that can influence the budget and influence the schedule as well. And then where is SunRail going to be housed? Where the computers need to be there, the furniture needs to be there, the phone system needs to be there. Those are things that aren't that exciting to think about, but they have to be there in order to operate an agency, of course.